If you're an American that has moved abroad,
Yes?
how has your concept of freedom changed?
Well, I've got a few thousand things to say.
Do you prefer the freedom of knowing that you won't get unexpected medical bills?
Abso-fucking-lutely. This insurance card in Germany feels to me literally like a magic card. Every time I use it, I literally think to myself, I don't have to pay anything? As a teenager living in the US, whenever I went to the doctor or dentist, my mom always gave me the insurance card and a credit card. Hey mom, I'm headed to the doctor's. I got your MasterCard with me. Why in the world are you taking that? Take the American Express. We get rewards points.
Do you prefer the freedom of knowing that the government has minimum employment standards, like guaranteed paid time off of between 20 and 40 paid days off a year, depending on which country you've moved to?
In the US, I worked as a waiter for several years. And in those several years, I did not get one single day of paid time off. No vacation days, no paid holidays. We actually had to work on holidays because that's when people go out to eat. And if you're sick, you're fucked. And all that work for $2.35 an hour. You live off of tips, of course. And the German word for tip is actually Trinkgeld or drinking money, which is funny. But in the US, it would actually be Lebensgeld or living money. Or I would actually call it Überlebensgeld, surviving money.
Do you prefer the freedom of knowing that if you hear fireworks, you can encourage your children to look out the window rather than questioning whether it's something else you should be afraid of?
Freedom from the fucked up gun culture in the US is a huge freedom for me. Friends of mine, in separate incidents, have been murdered by guns. And the college that I had the privilege of going to, Virginia Tech, had the deadliest school shooting in US history. One of the 32 victims was a Holocaust survivor. He heroically held the door closed with his body as his students escaped through the window, and he was shot through the door. He survived the Holocaust, but did not survive gun violence in the US. In Germany, the fear of being threatened with a gun or getting shot is not a fear that I have. And if something were to happen, though, I've got my magic card.
So yeah, how has your concept of freedom changed?
I love the freedom of not having to drive a car everywhere. Just look at this beautiful map of Berlin's public transportation system. Going to work, I get angry if I have to wait more than 5 minutes for the next train. Whereas in the US, I literally waited 18 years to ride my very first train. I love the freedom of being able to sit down at a cafe and not have someone approach you and talk to you about Jesus. Even worse than that, in the US, both my eye doctor and the nurse at the dentist's office both talk to me about Jesus.
Oh, sweetheart, I sure do hope Jesus is in your heart too. When I found Jesus, or when he found me, I put the bottle down and I felt as free as a bird. I tell you what.
Talking about Jesus and work? I love the freedom of being able to study here and not have to pay thousands and thousands per semester for a football stadium. I love the freedom of not having to constantly hear all the freedom propaganda, despite the lack of various freedoms. And I'm going to end by quoting the most brilliant comment from your video. My freedom went from a concept to reality.